Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us in today's webinar presented to you in collaboration between Amdocs Open Networks and BLiNQ Networks. The webinar co-hosts today will be Patrick Buthmann, the VP of Sales and Business Development from the BLiNQ side, and Min Huang, Solution Engagement Director from Amdocs. As a quick run through of what you can expect in the webinar, we will provide you with an overview of BLiNQ's technology and product line, and then we'll share with you Amdocs' key offerings in fixed wireless and SAS. We'll then wrap up with some details on total cost of ownership. My name is Mary. I am the Marketing Director here at BLiNQ, and I'll be taking your questions throughout the presentation. So feel free to type your questions into the chat box, and we will address as many as we can at the very end. Without delaying further, I will pass it over to Patrick to take you through the BLiNQ product line and technology offering.
Thanks, Mary. Once again, as Mary said, my name is Patrick Buthmann. I run sales and business development for BLiNQ Networks. Just a bit of background, BLiNQ is a wholly North American, US and Canadian, so we're a US owned company that builds wireless technology focused exclusively on CBRS and the fixed wireless access market targeted towards the US. We really have a product family that's broken down into three basic product lines. Starting on the left, we have our X300i, which is our 3-sector, 360-degree small cell, fully integrated, so basebands, antennas, even the ability to embed the evolved packet core right onto the box itself, capability of scaling up to 500 megabits per second of total throughput within the box itself, supports CBRS and has the ability to support 5 gigahertz in an LAA configuration as well, up to 96 users per sector, GPS timing and 1588 capabilities built in. So there is an indoor variant as well for deployment in an indoor scenario in which an operator or private LTE environment, an enterprise, healthcare environments, things like that may decide to deploy a mix of indoor or outdoor type solutions, and also supports, like all of our products, carrier aggregation. Moving over, our compact macro cell on the center, our FW300i. This scales up in the neighborhood of, to 1 to 2 gigabits per second per cell, depending upon how we configure and deploy the box. It's a category B CBRS device, up to 54 dBm across 3cc, so we meet full FCC maximum EIRP rated power. Can be deployed in configurations from 60 degrees of coverage utilizing 3cc across a single sector, or 3 separate 1cc single radio channel, for example, across 180 degrees, so you have 3 separate sectors all into one. Multiple types of deployment scenarios. Again, this is a very compact solution. It's approximately the size of a small carry-on suitcase. Again, fully integrated. It's 12 kilos in weight, about 25 pounds, and antennas, GPS, baseband, radio heads, all built in into one very compact, easily deployable solution, wall mountable, tower mountable, pole mountable, etc. And then on the right-hand side, we move over to our FW600 and our FW600M. This is really our solution for dense, suburban, massive MIMO type deployments. Our FW600 and 600M are split design, so there's a radio head and separate antennas. So the FW600 works with a multi-beam antenna that allows you to do dense sectorization in terms of actually having 3, 6, or 9 individual beams within a 60 or 90 degree sector. And again, each one of these beams supports up to 96 users per beam. All of the same capabilities exist. The ability to embed the packet core, your baseband is built in, GPS is built in, and of course, support for going up to 3cc carrier aggregation on a per beam basis. The FW600M is our massive MIMO solution. That's basically a 72 branch massive MIMO solution designed for those very dense suburban environments in which we can do capabilities such as a frequency reuse of 1 across it. And in those types of environments, you're looking at doing things, basically scaling up to 10 gigabits per second out of a single cell site, for example. So in areas where you might have 18 plus individual active beams, each beam is effectively its own independent LTE base station, operating all simultaneously, and can potentially all be using the same 20, 40, or 60 megahertz of spectrum to have a really dense, high capacity deployment type scenario. Next slide, Mary. Our technology scale, one of the key elements to BLiNQ's technology overall is everything is built upon a core hardware fundamentals. So same core baseband processors and same RF head ends across all of our product lines, which allows us to do very unique things. Like, so if we, from a software perspective, all products run the exact same version of code across the product line. So we have the ability to actually, when we add features to one product, those features are automatically added to every product within the family, assuming that the hardware supports various things like that. Our background and our focus is heavily based upon active antenna systems and active beamforming systems. So everything we do is software configurable and software controlled. So if we want to move from a 1cc 180-degree configuration to a 3cc 60-degree configuration, that's simply log into the box and make that software change, and it happens. Everything in the box is fully scriptable and fully remote controlled, so all of these features can be turned off or turned on at will on the basis of what the operator feels like. So we can do things like, again, you can run in 1cc mode, for 3 months until you actually decide that you need capacity, and then upgrade to 3cc mode simply by logging into the box and making that change. And then if you want to add more coverage in, it's simply a case of adding more radio elements under the tower, for example, and going from there. It's a very scalable solution in that sense. Same thing with the FW600. The multi-beam antennas that are paired up with the FW600, you can deploy a network very simply and very early in a 1cc type configuration, and then as demand for bandwidth grows or capacity requirements grow, you simply add remote radio heads into the FW600 or 600M scenario, and you can now move up to 2cc or 3cc type configurations. Same thing goes if we want to look at doing something like adding in LAA for 3.5 gig plus 5 gig solutions. We simply add in the modules for that, and now you have a solution that can scale and do a combination of CBRS plus Uni 2 5 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz bands into that as well. This becomes critical when we talk about carrier aggregation. The PAL auctions just completed this week or last week. I mean, very recently, within the last day or two, that the PAL auctions for CBRS completed. And in a lot of those, obviously, you've got 7 auctions or 7 licenses available for 10 megahertz channels. The likelihood that anybody's going to have contiguous 10 megahertz or 20 megahertz or beyond up to 60 for 3cc or 80 for 4cc, for example, type configurations that are contiguous within CBRS is highly unlikely. So it's very critical to be able to deploy a solution that can actually aggregate bandwidth from anywhere within the available spectrum. We're unique in that we can actually aggregate anywhere from within CBRS, so anywhere within the 150 megahertz of CBRS. And in our LAA solution, we can aggregate from anywhere within the 5 to 6 gigahertz band as well. So you have the ability in an LAA configuration to pick a channel in the 5.1, 5.2 range, and also one from 5.9, and also one from 3.5 anywhere within that mix, and be able to aggregate all 3 of those channels together into an LAA type configuration to carrier aggregation. So you can get very high performance while using whatever spectrum you have available without having to hope for, 3 contiguous 20 megahertz channels, all, similarly, side by side by side. So this is very critical from a CBRS perspective as well. One of the other key things too, our remote radio heads are basically full LTE, 5G eNode Bs built in a modular architecture. So they include baseband, they include antennas, GPSs, everything all built in there in a fully integrated solution. So from a tower deployment perspective, it is a 0 footprint type of environment. You have everything put in, it's mounted on the tower, and you have nothing, at the base of the tower that needs to be, so it brings your total cost of ownership down quite a bit. You're not maintaining, equipment at the most vulnerable, base level hardened buildings or storage containers at the base of the tower. So carry on, Mary. I'll turn it over to Min.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Mary, and thank you for the opportunity to present on behalf of Amdocs and BLiNQ. So just a quick intro on Amdocs, who we are, what we do here in the open network side. Amdocs traditionally is in the BSS OSS traditional business, where we have a lot of billing platforms around T1 corporate operators around the world. Chances are, if you're a customer of AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, you get a bill probably goes through the billing platform of Amdocs. Within open networks itself, we are a division of Amdocs that focus on a lot of network services. We design, deploy, operate, optimization. We do a lot of that in the last 30 years of experience in DNA. We have over 80 plus partners that we work with that we basically pick the best, and we're vendor agnostic for any solutions that we see for end customer. And it's a natural evolution for us to go into CBRS with our capabilities of having a SaaS and also offering a variety of network services on top to better the customer solution. In terms of the solutions, just a couple ones within CBRS. We have a design planning tool based on AI ML algorithms to optimize frequencies, CBRS space. We also have a globally recognized analytics and optimization tool called Eptics. Now I'll speak a little bit about that in another slide. And finally, we have obviously the professional services, which is part of our core strength within Amdocs that deal with fixed wireless, IT, mobile, consulting for tier 1, 2, 3 operators around the world. We have integration services with the RAN and EPCs for different technologies as well. And for network design and managed services, we have over 1,000 field crews around the US, and we're combining our partners and in-house to help with a lot of these capabilities. We deal businesses with customers in fixed wireless network, enterprise, residents, and a lot of different components of the networks. Go ahead, Mary, next slide. Within the fixed wireless network offering, we see different capabilities in rural, suburban, dense urbans that have the requirements around mainly the internet coverage application, and there could be technologies of Wi-Fi, LTE, and definitely now CBRS as well. What Amdocs offers is we can have a converged consulting service to make sure we understand the requirements from a network perspective, from the IT perspective, and also from a financial perspective to make sure that total cost of ownership makes sense. And this is what we're doing with BLiNQ here, to combine some of the components within the fixed wireless network. And we can tailor an offering around end-to-end program management to offer all those components. In this case, we're partnering with BLiNQ here to offer the SaaS bundling with a lot of the CPE hardware, PC capabilities that they could provide. Besides the components, we also have design and rollout services, NOC and assurance services that I can speak a little bit about a little bit later on. Those are optional capabilities that Amdocs can also provide if the customer wishes to acquire some of these services to build their own network as well. Mary, next slide, please. So the SaaS admin service that we provide, we are an FCC approved SaaS provider. The public notice DA 20-437 is out there for anyone to Google and and search for, so that public notice can be available to read a bit more. We are ready for any commercial CBSD and any trial that customers may want to have. And we have a unique UI that allows customers to see the devices and makes it easy, user-friendly for them to see as well. So we are an FCC-approved SaaS provider. Next slide, Mary. So the SaaS admin part of the SpectrumONE offering that we have. In the middle is what we talked about in the previous slide, was the SaaS admin service. The core functionality of the SaaS is the same across all the SaaS out there in the market, where the interface to a different SaaS to every night to make sure that all the devices are synced up and understanding the spectrum and powers available in the CBR span. We talk to obviously the devices themselves, the CBSD, or the software domain proxies out there that contains a lot of CBSDs together, and then obviously the ESC part as well. So all those protocol service that goes between all of those interfaces are the same with all the SaaS. What differentiates from the SaaS perspective a little bit is some of the wraparound components like ticketing, analytics, billing, and also some of the user interfaces that the customers will get either through the web portal on the computers. So whether they're a different account, public or private, they get a different kind of user profile. They can see the map, see the devices, and see the brands available themselves. And then SpectrumONE also offers some proprietary solution, additional optional in the overall portfolio. They basically have information that can help with network planning, spectrum allocation, recommendations, network optimization in the future, also integrate with ONAP as well. And of course, to some of the customer support portals for any issues as well. And go ahead, Mary, next slide. Just a quick slide on Eptics Analyzer. This is mentioned here because we are trying to bundle it with part of the SaaS offering with BLiNQ as some licenses that can also be tailored for customers. If you haven't heard of Eptics Analyzer, we are the world's leading post-processing for drive and walk test platform. We were first introduced as a multi-vendor desktop in '97 and been used now by over 300 operators worldwide, including 25 of the top 30. That's there as well. A lot of capabilities in drive test processing, including the timings of KPIs and messages and recommendations out there. So if you customers are looking for any post-processing to help their own team for design analytics, we are having some license part of the bundle within the overall portfolio with BLiNQ and Amdocs that we're going to talk about a little bit later on. All right, next slide, Mary. We also have our Amdocs product and services support capabilities where we have a platform where we can, customers can log on and submit a ticket 24/7 through our web portal. We also have local business hours 9 to 5 where you can pick up a phone and call us. We have a human customer response available to help you, whether it's for issues you're having on the onboarding or operation, we can do that. During the web portal profiles, you have capabilities to help with minor maintenance releases and requests. We also have root cause analysis on cases in the ticket system as well. And we have SLAs that define depending on the kind of issues that you're gonna have. Whether it's high priority with 2 hours response time or more or less priority that will take probably a couple of days to respond. Okay, go ahead, Mary. And then finally, we also mentioned one slide on our end-to-end network services capabilities. So all the components you saw earlier, our fixed wireless hardware components may come from BLiNQ, but the services itself, we have a lot of experiences in rollout services, from system integration to automations to in-building macro testing to AI analytics such as Eptics I mentioned earlier, and to managed services. We have our own proprietary solutions on the left-hand side that Amdocs have built over the years that can help with rollout and reduction in rollout cycles. And that's generally very, very long in the operator's side, but we have proven around the world that we have reduced 25% of the rollout cycle time by using a lot of the automations, as well as scripting automations and algorithms that we've built into the system. And around the US, we have seen over 30% reduction in NOC congestions with automation, and with managed services over 100,000 sites every day around the world. So if you have any interest in learning a bit more about the end-to-end rollout services, please contact me and we can go through more details, all of the different capabilities that we offer, from planning to design, to integrate, to install, to operate. Yes. All right, Mary.
Thanks, Min. Yes, and here at BLiNQ, we're very excited to work with Amdocs as well. And so we've worked, and one of the driving factors that we've had, one of our mission statement at BLiNQ has really been the ability to bring standards, 3GPP standards-based wireless solutions to the market at the lowest total cost of ownership over, a 5 and 10-year model, was to be able to take the complexity and the hassle out of deploying, a wireless network and making it something that's relatively simple and easy to deploy. So if we look at across the product family, the X300i, the compact small cell, designed for local, small neighborhood, regional infill type thing, a 5-year TCO model, including full hardware and software warranty for 5 years with advanced replacement, all of the Amdocs SpectrumONE SAS licensing included on the base station, 3 months of Eptics Analyzer licenses with two uses from Amdocs, on a 5-year total cost of ownership solution, $6,500. So basically, the idea being an upfront capital cost of $6,500 for that in quantities of one, and you have all of that included for the 5-year solution. And obviously, as we go up in volume, those things can be discussed in terms of sharpening of pencils, but that's where we're starting at. On our FW300i, same overall model behind everything. So all of your SpectrumONE SAS licensing included for 5 years, extended hardware and software warranty with advanced replacement, the 3-month usage of Eptics Analyzer for a list price of $10,500 on the FW300i. And then on the FW600 solutions, again, same capabilities. It ranges from, because there's a wide variety of configurations in that, anywhere from $12,500 all the way up to about $60,000 deployments on the massive MIMO solution. But again, that's your 5-year TCO model for a fully loaded type solution in that case. So we basically generally look at the marketplace, and from a TCO type model, this includes all of your software, all of, again, the warranty, all those things that are included as well. So no ongoing OpEx costs, for those 5 years based upon that. Next slide, Mary. Even on the CPE side, we've partnered up, again with Amdocs on a TCO model based upon this as well. And for all of these TCO models, we do have 1 year and 3-year solutions as well. We do have ongoing OpEx-based solutions that we can do as well if that's what an operator prefers. But generally, from my years in this business, which are unfortunately more than I care to admit, a lot of operators are looking to reduce their OpEx as much as possible and focus on simply CapEx expenses. So that's part of the reason that we've done this as a 5-year TCO model. So we've got a range of CPEs available, an outdoor category 6 high gain CPE, so it's 19.5 dBi of gain, up to 200 megabits per second on the download, 20 megabits per second on the upload. So it meets the requirements for RDOF, as far as that capability goes. List price on that CPE with your SAS SpectrumONE licenses for 5 years, 3 months of the Eptics Analyzer with 2 licenses $475 MSRP, and that's again the 5-year hardware and software warranty included in that as well. Our outdoor category 12 high gain CPE, so that's where we can go up to 400 megabits per second on the download per CPE, 30 megabits per second on the upload. It's a 16 dBi gain antenna unit, and again, all of your same capabilities or features from a hardware and software warranty. Your Amdocs SAS licensing included for 5 years, the Eptics Analyzer, and that's an MSRP of $525. We've also come out with a high gain indoor CPE, and that one is, again, the same capabilities as the category 12 outdoor unit, 400 megabits per second download, 30 upload, 802.11 BGN A and AC included, so 2.5 and 5 gigahertz support within that. Again, 5-year advanced replacement warranty, and that's a list price of $350 MSRP. We are very excited about this partnership because it gives us the ability to put something out there and really put a stake in the ground that says this is where the lowest, TCO model needs to be. And we think, the partnership between ourselves and Amdocs, obviously BLiNQ is a relatively small company and Amdocs is a relatively large company, but we think this partnership brings a lot to the market, to these customers on both private LTE, mobile solutions, as well as, fixed wireless deployments available for rural and suburban America. We also have tested, so, from a private LTE perspective, we have a number of devices as well that we have tested with for full mobility support within the system as well. So this solution is, completely suited to, it is LTE, LTE Advanced. You have all the capabilities that you need from a 4G and 5G mobility perspective as well. So that's all I have. Any questions, I guess, Mary? We can dive into the Q&A.
Yeah, so we'll open up the floor for any questions, and we'll give you a minute to send those through. Patrick and Min, if you'd like to add anything else, feel free to do so. One question just came in, actually. The TCO model, after 5 years, what's the policy on replacement?
After 5 years?
Yes.
So after 5 years, there are extended warranties available that can be purchased again in 1, 3, and 5 year, processes from there. And I'm sure between Amdocs and ourselves, we can work on, if there's an ongoing model that requires, extended purchase or upfront purchase of SAS spectrum licensing, that can probably be discussed as well. So.
Any other questions? Feel free to keep
one question
sending.
in the Q&A, who manufactures the hardware? We do, actually.
Okay,
we own our own manufacturing facility. So we have our wholly owned manufacturing facility that we actually manufacture the hardware ourselves. We do also have manufacturing facilities in the US and Canada that we also use as well. Any other questions, anyone? Well, I guess we have a pretty quiet crowd today.
I think another one just came in. Is the radio 5G and standard upgradable?
So there's two parts to that piece. There's the baseband and there's the radio head itself. From a 5G core perspective, all of the radios are 5G core upgradable. From a software perspective, that can be done. And that's already scheduled and on our roadmap from a 5G perspective. So effectively, we can take any of the FW X300 series and effectively turn them into an option 7, like an option 2, option 7 type split, and turn them into a remote radio head. For making the switch from 4G to 5G and R, there's a couple of things that get in the way of that. Typically, that requires a hardware change to go from 4G to 5G and R, simply because if you want to take advantage within, up to release 15, your max channel size is 20 megahertz, for example, and typically devices are filtered, and filters are a hardware component, for that maximum capability. As we move into 5G, you'll have the ability to go to larger channel sizes up to 100 megahertz. That would, to move to that would require a hardware change. So that's one element as far as that goes. But in terms of migrating to, a 5G, we'll use a 5G baseband and the BLiNQ FW300 as a remote radio head. That's a software change.
We have another question. Does the indoor radio require an external PTP GM?
So in terms of timing, the indoor unit, actually all the units will have the capability to support 1588. So from a clocking perspective, they'll all actually work off of a 1588 clock from that perspective. So assuming that's what you're referring to on the packet timing side of things, but that they'll all support 1588.
Does Amdocs have an ESC network to provide the lower 100 megahertz in CBRS along the coast?
Yes, we do have that.
Great. There's a question here. We may have covered it earlier, but what is the SAS fee for Cat A and Cat B devices?
Patrick, do you want to answer that with the bundle?
Well, yeah. So I mean, I guess it really depends. It's included within we don't break it out separately within our this TCO model in our case. So it's bundled within the solution. We do have a model that we can discuss with customers on what the ongoing cost is on a month-by-month basis on a standard SAS fee for Cat A and Cat B devices. There's really no difference between Cat A and Cat B from a SAS licensing perspective. So they're pretty much the same on both of those. So, but we currently the model that we're discussing is a 5-year TCO model. Again, we do have pricing that's available, and feel free to reach out and contact either Min or myself as to discuss joint Amdocs and BLiNQ solutions, and we can put together a month-by-month costing model, or a 1-year, 3-year, or 5-year TCO model. Both are.
Okay, I think those are all the questions that have come in. I think we can wrap up. We can follow up with any other questions after this webinar, but thank you again for everyone who's joined us today. If you've got any other questions, feel free to reach out to Patrick and Min directly. You can see their contact details here, and we'll also be sharing a recording of this webinar so you can refer back to any details you may have missed. Once again, thank you, and we hope to connect with you offline.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.